Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Out of the Park 23 as the Minnesota Twins. And today we just finished the trade deadline. The team has been playing better of late. We are now tied for the top wild card spot, 6 games ahead of the Blue Jays. We're only a game and a half back of the Royals, who we are about to play. So we might be getting into first place finally, or this seems to be our trend of we kind of pick it up in the second half. The first interesting piece of news before we get into the couple of trades we did make was that I gotta scroll a little bit here. All Stars. So Yandris Gomez makes the All Star team. Aaron Nola, Joan Duran all make the team. Hitter side, Royce Lewis as a rookie makes the All Star team, as well as Alex Kirilloff and Max Kepler. Quite a few first-time All-Stars here. This is Kepler's first All-Star appearance. It's Royce Lewis's obviously first All-Star appearance. Oh yeah, I missed Aaron Rozek as well as a reliever. His first All-Star appearance. Surprisingly, it's Aaron Nola's second, first in the American League. He's just been incredible for us this year, and hopefully for the next 3 years as well. Yandris Gomez has been really good since we kind of moved him from our long relief role to a starting role. And Rozek has been better now that we've kind of gotten rid of the whole opener situation with Lamet and just kind of are using Rozek more as just a standard lefty out of the pen. So that was the All-Star game. That was really good to see kind of how well we actually ended up doing here. We had 7 All-Stars. That's really nice. Second big thing is Royce Lewis. We were able to lock him down for 9 years. I think the biggest thing that sold me on doing this, outside of just kind of how well he's played this year, is the fact that he just has so much utility with the 65 range, both in the infield and the outfield, of pretty much if I have injuries anywhere, I can play him there. So that's just a lot of utility. He's a captain. That's good to have around for your team. If anything happens to Correa again, I can play him at short. He's a much better defender than Polanco, so I have him kind of just as my starting second baseman, which means that that's a situation where we have a double play duo for the next 8 years, pretty much. So that's really nice. The contract for Royce Lewis is really, really nice, in my opinion. It's 9 years, $80 million. It's actually pretty much, when I was looking at extending him, it was pretty much just what popped up right away. And I was sort of like, well, this is a good deal. I don't want to try to finick with it to a degree where he wouldn't take this deal. And I was just like, you know what? Let's just do this. So kind of through arbitration is the kind of that 10.6 is the last arbitration year, and then it's like a 4-year $50-ish million deal after that, with the team option on the last year. So the fact that I'm never going to be paying him more than $13 million through his prime for a guy that could be my starting center fielder, could be second base, shortstop, kind of all of that up the middle with good defense, and a bat that's been pretty good this year, but I'm sort of like Correa, not really even counting on the bat. I think anything I get from the bat from him is just gravy. He's also single-handedly allowing me to potentially not have my owner being mad at me about stolen bases, which was a thing that I was kind of annoyed when I saw that was one of the owner goals, was improve your team's stolen bases. And I'm like, I don't care about stolen bases. If the offense is good, then I don't need it. But yeah, I mean, we have 49 stolen bases. Royce has 22 of them. He might be a 20 homer, 30 stolen base guy this year. And yeah, I mean, that's just a really nice thing to see there. As far as kind of some of the other stuff with that, I mean, really a lot of it doesn't kick in. Some of the bigger numbers don't kick in for a little bit, so I don't really have to worry about it. But Polanco, I think now we're at the point where I don't think we take this team option anymore. Now that Royce has kind of established himself as a good replacement for him, to the point of we might even look to move him this offseason. I'm definitely not opposed to that. This contract is still pretty good. So it should be movable, which is something I might consider doing, even though I don't have a lot of great other middle infield options. But Jonathan Aranda sort of also makes him movable to where he's been really good this year. He's not as good defensively, even as Polanco, who's not a great defender, but he makes a lot less money for a bat that's quite frankly been better than Polanco's this year. And maybe it's because I've been moving him around defensively that he doesn't feel like there's the consistency there. But I think that this is definitely a piece that I might look to move, which would then allow me to give Aranda more playing time. And he's deserved it and is much cheaper. And then Kepler as well, this team option. I'm very, very not certain about what to do with this. Trevor Larnack, we're going to waive DFA to get him. He's just unfortunately not going to develop. But we've picked up some interesting pieces in the two deals, or in two of the deals, I believe. Let's see. So as far as the trades that we made, two of them were earlier in the year, and one of them was a deadline deal. So the first two were in June. Let's see where it is. Okay, so I guess the first one, or the first one we'll talk about here is the Stashak contract, where he just hasn't been getting it done for me. He wasn't great in the minors as a reliever. Hasn't been good for me in 22 or in 23. My scout's still high on him, which kind of made me believe that I'd be able to get some stuff for him. And by adding in kind of some of my starting pitcher depth that I have that I think is kind of on the lower end of my pitchers. Cole Sands I have no faith in at all at this point. Gibson, Long, and McLeod are people that I'm more interested in. Gibson Long struggled at AA this year and is 25. But I still think there's potential there. And then McLeod's probably the guy that I'm more concerned about coming back to bite me. Was above average in AA this year at 23. I think that's the piece that I'm probably the most concerned about giving up. But I think we got a really good haul in return. Sal Frelick was the main piece in this deal, probably. I was surprised that they were willing to give him up. He's the number 48 prospect in baseball. Hasn't hit super well at the major league level. I will possibly end up just sending him back down to finish the year if I need space, because he's unfortunately not really a center field backup, which is concerning for kind of a fourth outfielder as this team is constructed, needs to be able to play center field. So that's kind of a potential issue. One of the things I might look at doing with him, one of the reasons I might send him down, is to look at playing him at first base, because his infield ratings are not bad. So if I could turn him into also a first baseman, considering that we have Jose Miranda and Hudson Potts, who are both right-handers, as our main first baseman, then there's something there. Ethan Murray is minor league depth, pretty much, who is hitting very well at A-plus ball. Not really sure why he's in AAA for me. I probably need to go move him back into AA because that's where I wanted him. And then Lara and Barrios are kind of more flyers. Lara is really now we actually have a legit center field prospect in our organization, which is something that I felt like I was lacking. And yeah, like even if this bat doesn't fully develop, I mean, this is a guy that's a plus defender in center field for sure. Maybe not quite Gold Glove defender, but is above average, I think. So that makes him, and the fact that he's so young means that he could be our next center fielder if he does develop, because it's going to take him some time before he does that, and potentially our Buxton replacement long term. Barrios is is a corner infielder that I think could potentially develop. I mean, my scout's already down on him from when we acquired him initially, but there's I mean, this is the type of bat that you can take a chance on and hopefully develops. I mean, I've got a lot of corner infielders in my minor league system, but I think taking chances on guys like that never really hurts, especially because I'm giving up a lot of pitching, and that's sort of a trend throughout a lot of the trades is going off of some of the pitching depth that I think that my organization has to acquire some more hitting and to acquire some interesting pieces. Um, and then where is the other deal? I think was actually draft day. Yes, it was. So we traded away Luis Ariz, which makes me sad. But Luis Ariz, the all-star in real life, is just not what's existing in this out of the park universe. Below average last year, below average this year, even worse this year, below average with the Dodgers since they acquired him, and making $2.5 million, and he's just literally a worse version of Jonathan Aranda making more money. So I felt good about trading him. Mosqueda is a nothing piece that they wanted for me to be able to acquire all three of the guys that I wanted. Jacob Amaya is basically middle infield depth of the fact that this was something that I was worried about with my team and my organization as it's constructed, is that I didn't really feel like I had a legit kind of third shortstop that's prepared to play in the majors. And even though Amaya wouldn't be a good hitter in the majors, he would at least be a plus defender for me. So that's just, I think, a good piece to have. He's not really hitting at AAA, but that's fine. He doesn't need to be in a perfect world, he's not ever somebody that I'm relying on in the majors, but this is a good organizational depth piece. Jonathan Sprinkle, first off, has an amazing name, so that alone makes him worth acquiring. Just a potential very interesting bullpen arm who's been very good. But my scout's fairly high on him. And yeah, we're going to have bullpen turnover this year, so bringing in some of those just seemed like a good fit. And then Lloyd L. Chappelle Jr. Part of this was acquiring him was partially making up for me being cranky that I did not get him on the minor league contract, because I remember I offered him one. He said, "This is the best one I've gotten so far," and then just signs with the Dodgers instantly afterwards, which was frustrating. But now we have acquired him. He was in A+ ball for whatever reason for the Dodgers. I put him in AA. He hit very well. Put him in AAA. He's hitting well in 3 games. So, I mean, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But, yeah, I mean, it's just another potential corner outfielder who can't really play center field. So, I mean, realistically, there's a little bit of a logjam in the corners, especially since I have Kirilloff as well. But it's just kind of having more potential bullets for filling that role to see kind of who ends up really being the pieces that develop. And then the last trade that we made on the trade deadline was acquiring this guy Andrew Nardi from the Marlins. So the thing that I like about him is primarily that he's a lefty that still has a decent amount of team control. Because, I mean, obviously he's just very good. But I'm going to be losing my best lefty at the end of the year because I'm not going to retain Thielbar. He's 37 and going to be 37, making, I think, his arbitration estimate somewhere in the range of $2.5 to $3 million. I'm not super interested in paying a 37-year-old reliever that. So we acquired Andrew Nardi to be our kind of back end lefty. The cost was Noah Miller, who I can definitely see why they'd be interested in him, because he sort of was one of our kind of like longer term potential middle infielders. But I don't love the bat, and it's only 60 range, which to me says that he's not going to be a great defensive shortstop, which I think limits the upside and usefulness for him. Even though like he could play shortstop at a major league level for sure, but I think he'd prefer to play second base, and I don't think he's a good enough shortstop to justify it. The other piece we traded was Hayden Wasinski, who we acquired in the Yankees trade, who I thought was the main piece in that trade, but it turned out to be Gomez. Um, my scout has lowered on him since I acquired him pretty consistently. He wasn't great in AAA as a starter this year, even though the FIP says that he was getting a little bit unlucky. I mean, the BABIP backs that up as well with the 323 BABIP, but the strikeout rate is down from where he was as a starter. A 4 in AAA. So that's just, it's a lot of kind of concerning points. Additionally, the stuff rating did not increase moving him to a reliever role. So even though he was good in that role for the Yankees in 22, he felt expendable to me kind of compared to the kind of backlog of starters that I have at AAA right now, even though there's going to be turnover next year with the amount of starting pitching that I'm losing that I'll be relying on some of my AAA pieces. I felt like he was kind of the bottom of that totem pole, and especially considering we then added Kumar Rocker in the draft, to me just kind of meant that he was expendable to get a piece that I think was more necessary for the team right now. So yeah, so we made, I think, more deals than I was really expecting, but even then it was 2 of them were kind of trading away pieces that I didn't think had homes long term on the team to try to get some minor league depth, and the other thing was acquiring a lefty for the near future as well. So I think that we're in a pretty decent spot moving forward. We play the Royals here coming up, which should be a fun series. A quick look at our minor league system is we're at 6th right now. We just had promotions of Hudson Potts and Royce Lewis, which dropped this. I was at 2nd overall not too long ago. But we still have 4 top 100 guys. Atrian is still chugging along in our low minors. Kumar Rocker jumped to the 25th overall prospect. Weissman is starting to rise up in ranks. Manuel Rodriguez as well. And then just some other guys. So I think that we're continued to be in a pretty good spot. We will also actually quickly look at the player that we decided to sign in the international free agent market, which was this guy, Danny Coronel, who I think is probably more of a second baseman than a shortstop. But he can play shortstop, but I think he's better suited for second or third long term. But I think it was just a good combination of good defense plus good bat that I think just turned out the nicest. The debate to me was pretty much between Coronel and this guy, Calderon, who the bat here is definitely better, but low intelligence, isn't great anywhere defensively, so you need the bat to develop. So that was what led me to the decision that I made of going with Coronel over Calderon, even though Calderon was the higher potential overall player. And then there were 2 pitchers as well. Or maybe it was just Sandoval. Yeah, nobody that was like super interesting to me on the pitcher side, which to be fair, there usually really isn't. The international free agents are much more on the side of hitters usually. But that's where we are. We're definitely in a good spot to be competing for, at the very least, another spot in the playoffs. I really like our potential for pitching in the playoffs. If we do manage to get there, the bats are in a pretty good spot as well. We're doing okay with injuries right now, which means I probably just jinxed it and everything's going to go downhill. But for now, this is going to be the end of the episode. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.